Prosecution Bureau and a career prosecutor in Kane. Dan Weiler is really a rising star in my office. And Michelle Katz, another career prosecutor.
They had to get a special prosecutor
for the hard work and the dedication that they put into this case, their professionalism, their perspectives, their different thoughts, the very strong conversations that we had from the day that we were appointed on this case as to how we were going to put our trial strategy together, and most importantly, their integrity every step of the way. I also want to thank the Winnebago County State's Attorney Joe Briscato and that entire office for allowing us to work with Marilyn Height Ross. Also in the office in Kane, everyone there took on extra tasks, extra responsibility. They worked extra hours on their own time and filled in the gaps to make sure that justice in Kane County didn't miss a beat and the people of Kane County continued to be served well. Also, the court personnel here in the Layton Criminal Courts building here in Cook County walked in here August 4th, 2016. They treated us like old friends, and I appreciate that courtesy and what I know my entire team considers new and just really nice friendships. I also want to thank the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Both the current State's Attorney Kim Fox and the prior State's Attorney Anita Alvarez,
who was a scapegoat in my opinion,
had a seamless transition.
Miss Alvarez was a scapegoat, and she had to take the fall for Ronnie Manuel because he did that to her. She's the reason why Kim Fox, a friend of the family, is in office now. Because of, you know how it goes.
Out for us, the way they took care of us, not just my team and my office, but really all the parties involved in this case. I also want to thank my colleagues in the federal system, both John Leish, the U.S. Attorney, Joel Levine, who was the acting U.S. Attorney, and Zach Farden, the U.S. Attorney before them. My team has met with their office and each of them personally a number of times to make sure that the investigation that started very soon after the events of October 20, 2014 came together. This is a gratifying verdict. We are all been full in our pursuit for justice for Laquan McDonald, for his mother Tina, and for their family and friends. But a guilty verdict doesn't undo a crime. This verdict holds Jason Van Dyke accountable for his actions. It provides some justice for Laquan McDonald and Tina, for Laquan's family and friends, and it provides validation and a sense of justice for many residents of Chicago and Cook County. And beyond this area, for many communities across our country. But we all know that this verdict does not bring back Laquan McDonald. We have kept our focus on the actions of Jason Van Dyke the night of October 20th, 2014. And although we all live 30, 40 miles west of here, we don't live in a vacuum. We are aware of the concerns of the urban community, especially here in Chicago, but also in our hometowns of Elgin and Rockford.
Now they say, now look at it again, he's walking away. So they talking about he's walking towards. No, he's not. He's walking away. And they freeze the camera and he shot him. But the kid was walking away. He came out and shot him. So whatever, man. People not stupid, and we don't care about the degree of who you're supposed to be.
A Hispanic man and his son who came forward to tell the truth.
Yep.
Police officers who remembered that their duty is to serve and protect all of us.
That's right.
A justice system that has worked for the community and an African-American community that demanded justice for Laquan McDonald and all those people he represented. The words liberty and justice for all, words we teach our children in the Pledge of Allegiance, have meaning. They mean what they say, and they say all that is needed. Those of us who work in law enforcement and work to uphold the rule of law know that unless people come forward to tell the truth, our court system will break down. The people of Illinois, the people of Cook County, and the city of Chicago owe a debt of gratitude to the citizens who spoke up and stepped forward to tell the truth. They were colorblind, and today our justice system fulfilled its obligation of justice for all. Robert Kennedy said about 50 years ago that each time a man or a woman stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, that he or she sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. Our goal's appointment was to live those words and show through our actions that our criminal justice system does stand up and apply laws equally without regard to an individual's status, that it excludes no one, particularly those who live in society's margins, the poor, the vulnerable, the weak, those whose very existence is at risk. This team of prosecutors stood for those ideals, the ideal of justice for our entire community, that prosecutors represent all people in the pursuit of justice. We don't just step up for popular victims or prosecute unpopular defendants. I hope this prosecution and this verdict will send out a ripple of hope that our jump does work for everyone, and will prompt each of us to realize that any contribution can make an improvement in our community. Robert Kennedy also said that few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of those acts will be written the history of this generation. Laquan McDonald was not a throwaway young man. He had his challenges, as many teenagers do, and he should have been arrested that night, but that's where this story should have ended. Over the past 2 years, we committed ourselves to seeing that justice was served for Laquan McDonald and the people of Illinois. And although I take no personal pleasure in this outcome, I'm satisfied with the result, and I hope that it begins a new chapter in the relationship between law enforcement and the community. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Are you disappointed that it was not a first-degree murder verdict?
Not at all. I think one of the things that was really important about this case is that the jury reflected the community, and we presented not only all the facts that we in this case, but all of the law that applied to this case. The jury had every they considered first degree, they considered the aggravated battery. Respected, they were thoughtful. They applied the law to the facts of this case. I was just upstairs and heard some of the comments from many of the jurors, and it is crystal clear that they took their oath and their responsibility incredibly seriously, and I respect that decision. They listened to the facts of our case. They listened to the facts by all parties. They reached a just verdict, and I'm pleased with that outcome.
The defense attorney said that this, in essence, reduces police, or I think it reduces the security.
Well, the law enforcement officers that I know across this state and across this country are committed to justice, are committed to enforcing the law and committing it fairly and equally to everyone. I think there's a lot of police officers. There are a lot of great men and women who put on a uniform every single day. And they go out there and they risk their lives, and they're committed to serving and protecting all of us. And I think they'll continue to do that.
I'm just going to admit in this case that you guys were absolutely very.
Well, there's a lot of important pieces of evidence about this case. I don't think there was one key piece of evidence, but the video certainly played a central role in both our theme and in our presentation. But it was also the actions of Jason Van Dyke that night. It was his actions that were issue, and what we tried to do was present to the jury specifically what he did and, importantly, what he failed to do. And I think it's a combination of those things that convinced the jury beyond a reasonable doubt to reach their decision.
Can you say that there's been some question about what's the minimum with all the convictions? What's the minimum time that has to be in prison? Because Mr. Herbert said he has his life back, but I'm just curious what's the minimum time?
So he's been convicted of second-degree murder, and that offense carries a penalty of a maximum time of 20 years in prison. He's eligible for probation under that offense. If he goes to prison, it would be between 4 and 20 years. On the aggravated battery with a firearm, those counts are Class X felonies, and that penalty is a 6 to 30-year sentence to the Illinois Department of Correction. Those counts are non-probationable, so he must be sentenced to prison on the aggravated battery with firearm counts.
So but is it consecutive? How long is the minimum?
That's something that it was like, it essentially kind of is one without for time 16.
So I think sentencing is going to be an issue that, we're gather from his comments and my comments that, we may not disagree with, but Mr. Van Dyke can be sentenced on multiple counts, and we'll present those arguments in court at the right time. Yes, sir. I spoke with Tina Hunter a few moments ago. I'm not going to talk about what she and I talked about a few moments ago. I have talked to Tina Hunter a lot over the last 2 years. I and my entire team, we've met multiple times in person, both here in Chicago and in Kane County. This is a difficult day for Tina Hunter. Every day since October 20th, 2014 has been a difficult day. It's difficult because she has to continue to relive the worst moment of her life over and over. And she's had to relive that, with national attention, very intense local attention. And I know it's been difficult for her to heal is not the right word for me to describe. I don't think someone, and I don't think Tina will ever heal from this wound. But I think this process and the commitment of justice and the effort that this team behind me put into this case, my hope is that she sees that our work, that we stood up and we spoke up for her and her son.
That's why they didn't want to come forth.
So transparency, transparency on the law enforcement process is incredibly important. Well, those of us who work in law enforcement and police officers, what we know and maybe what we need to be reminded of from time to time is that the public gives us the authority to enforce these laws. The public gives the police the authority to police them. And so we have to be open with them about how we go about doing that work. And I just, that's an important relationship to maintain with the public. Why the video was not released for 2 years?
We all know why. We all know why. That's why Ron Emanuel's not going to be running again, because he knows his name is mud in the city of Chicago. Arrest with all the rest of the corrupted black politicians. They're just as bad as them. You can't just say white people. We got to put our own people on blast too for not being accountable for people who do bad to us, even if it is us. We got to hold everybody accountable. All hands on deck, black, white, whatever. If you white and you want justice for everybody, transparency, you should like this to happen. If you some kind of bigot or white supremacist, then of course you don't like this. But my thing is justice for everybody. We do wrong, we pay the price. You do wrong, you do the same as I do. Don't make it set for one set of rules, and then when it's conflicted, you're going to do something for somebody else. Regardless of color, you do the wrong, you do the time. But the problem is, we do the time 3 times more likely for super frivolous stuff versus somebody who do horrific crimes can do less time. That's what we're talking about.
We'll get to that when we get through sentencing.
That's right. The sentences haven't even been done. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Hold your wet, hold everything until the sentences went down.
Change the scope of sentencing. Well, that decision reflects that the jury believed, as we have argued from
this is on Michigan Avenue, right there. I believe it's Balboa.
Unnecessary, was not justified, and so that's that's gratifying to us that they saw the case and they saw his actions, they saw the defendant's actions as we did.
That's what we need to see. Everyone coming together, regardless of your race, nationality, education, money, handicap, whatever.
That was part of the
this is for Chicago. In order for Chicago to move forward, this has to happen.
Men and women behind
this has to happen.
Credit for that.
This has to happen. That way, everyone feels like they belong here and want it here. Not just for a few, but for everybody.
They made up their minds that they put Jason Van Dyke in a squad car, overweight eyes, and coming down saying, oh my God, I'm going to have to shoot this guy. That has never come out publicly until this trial. It came out in the defense witness interview with the psychologist.
So why would you have to shoot somebody with a knife? A small knife at that. 17-year-old kid
as you know,
versus a 17-plus law enforcement officer that's trained to how to subdue children or anyone. I don't get it.
Thousands of documents and pieces of information over the last 2+ years. And when the defense retained an expert and disclosed that expert, we received that expert's notes and discovered. And we believe that.
All right, that's what we got to do. So that's what we all have to understand, man. In order for this to happen for the city of Chicago to heal, everybody got to be held accountable. Black, white, Latino, Hispanic, Muslim, whatever. Everyone got to be held accountable. You do wrong to anybody, you pay the price. Regardless if it's black on black, white on white, Hispanic on Hispanic, that's it, that's all. That way we can stop talking about race, we can stop talking about this stuff. We can talk about people who do bad and people who do good. And people who do bad and hide it, them the ones we got to hold even more to a standard. Rahm Emanuel know he's a fraud and a crook. That's what it is. He knows he's a crook and a fraud. Okay, let me reboot this again. So I press the button. That's really what I want everybody to do. I might do some live reactions, followers for all that. So I don't know.